Hello, Derryfield, and welcome to our Fireside Chat. My name is Lindley Schutz. I'm Associate Head of School, and tonight I am delighted to be on the Fireside Chat with our college counseling team, Becca Kozakowski and Jill Teeters. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I'm excited to have our families learn more about all of the many things that the college office provides. I've been at Derryfield for 15 years, and I've really come to think of you all as being our dream Sherpas. You do an amazing job of connecting with each of our students and helping them understand and articulate what they value and what inspires them, and then ultimately helping them connect with colleges that cultivate their remarkable array of fields of interest. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. And why don't we start with each of you introducing yourselves? Becca.
Thanks, Lindley. Thanks so much. And hi, everybody. Again, my name is Becca Kozakowski, and I'm the Director of College Counseling at Derryfield. This is a role that I started this past summer, and this is my 17th admission cycle. I previously worked as a Director of Admission and Financial Aid, and also as an independent college counselor. In addition to being a member of various regional and national organizations related to college admissions, I also serve on the advisory board of an independent school in Maine. And that role allows me to connect with professionals from other independent schools throughout the Northeast. And the information I gather there carries over really well to the role I'm fulfilling at Derryfield. Jill, do you want to take over?
Thanks, Becca. Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Teeters. I'm the Associate Director of College Counseling, and I'm excited that I'm finishing up on what is my 5th year here at Derryfield after a career of more than 20 years on the college side. And if I'm doing my math right, I think that makes this my 26th admission cycle, but it's a good thing I started when I was really young. In addition to my wonderful work here with Derryfield students and families, I also have an opportunity to work as an outside application reader for different colleges each year, which really gives me a great sense of what colleges are really looking closely at in the admission review process. And I've also done private college counseling, and it's really great to be able to work one-on-one with students in that capacity as well. Like Becca, I'm an active member of our national and regional professional associations, and I've really had the pleasure of presenting and representing Derryfield on a variety of different issues, most recently including several presentations on diversity, equity, and inclusion in the college admission journey.
Well, we are so lucky to have you two as our team, and I hear that there is good news ahead for the college office. What changes are in the works for the fall of 22?
Yes, it's super exciting for us. I am going to be continuing in my role as Director of College Counseling, but the big shift is that Jill will expand her role and move from part-time to full-time in the fall. Brennan will finish the year as the Dean of College Counseling, and in future years will move to be in more of a consultant role for Derryfield. But this is really exciting for our office because the school is supporting 2 full-time college counselors, something that Derryfield has not had in the past. And we're thrilled to be able to best serve our students and families in this way.
That is wonderful to hear. So we'll have more college counseling available.
Yes.
For many of our families, the Derryfield College Counseling experience is much more comprehensive and personalized than what we may have experienced as we were in high school. What does the College Counseling Office do?
I think you said it perfectly there, in that it's a comprehensive and personalized program. We operate as a team, Jill and I. Even though each student is assigned one of us to be their counselor, we work together to support all Derryfield students. And we work to meet each student and family where they are and identify their goals for their college planning. Throughout the process, we encourage student self-reflection so that they understand who they are and why they want to go to college. We review student pathways, which were created when the student matriculated at Derryfield, and we incorporate that into the college admission experience. We work with families to gain an understanding of their family financial picture and what that means when investing in a college education. Really importantly, we build strong relationships with college representatives so they understand the Derryfield education and the foundations our graduates are getting. I think Jill and I both mentioned that we both worked as independent college counselors. The work we do in the college office at Derryfield is very similar to the work that we both did when we were hired directly by a family. We truly guide each student and family through every step of the process.
Every step is right, Becca, and there are actually several tools and goals that we have for families and students as they go along this journey. And the first is having students and parents take full advantage of SCORE, which is our application research and management system. And we'll introduce this to students and families when the time is right along the years in upper school. But one of the best things that we have found in this tool is that it allows us to have students conduct interest inventories and skill inventories, as well as research on career paths and major ideas. And especially as we're asking them to reflect, this is a great jumping off point so they can figure out what they're good at and how that might lead to a fulfilling career. Once they have a sense of what they may want to do or the different things they want to explore, we're able to help them with building their college list. We also can encourage them in terms of directing where to visit colleges and how to best prepare to interview and share their story. And then, of course, individual support with their actual application and supporting materials, as well as writing and editing college essay work. And also in identifying teachers here that they can ask for letters of recommendation as part of their application portfolio. And then Becca and I, for the students in our caseloads, write a letter on behalf of Derryfield in support of each student in their application. And of course, as we've mentioned a little bit earlier, we're there to assist and support parents with the financial aid process and how to best navigate that.
That's wonderful. And I also know that one of the things that the college office does so well is you answer the many questions that our families often have along the way. And I wanted to just let families know now, as you're listening, that if you have a question that comes to your mind as we're talking, please just add it to the Q&A and we'll get to it at the very end. What do you two think makes for a successful college search and a good college fit?
I think it's important to note that success is specific to each student and their college goals. It's important for students to keep an open mind early in the journey and to remember that there's more than one perfect fit school. Jill and I both had what we consider for ourselves very successful undergraduate experiences. And we also, before the pandemic, would travel and visit anywhere from 25 to 30 colleges per year, building those strong relationships that we have with our admissions colleagues. And in those campus visits, we would realize how many other colleges were out there that really could have been a good fit for us. So it's keeping an open mind, I think, as you start and approach your process. A successful college search also means understanding the various search parameters around looking for colleges. And ultimately, I think a student has had a successful search when they find a college with an academic opportunity that suits their needs, with a school culture that suits them, with career options for after graduation and also hopefully internships while the student is an undergrad, but then also a school that's a financial fit.
And how do they find out all of these things? Well, I'm going to go back to SCORE again. This is a really helpful tool where both families and students can do specific research on colleges at their fingertips and find out more about the offerings and how they might fit their needs. They also can then make plans after doing research and having a nice list to start with. Where am I going to visit and how am I going to go learn more? Am I going to go to an open house or attend an information session or have an interview? But we also encourage students while they're on campuses to talk to current students at that college. As a former admission officer, the admission staff and the tour guides are going to tell you all sorts of wonderful things, but simply stopping that student on the campus quad and asking what they like about the school, or picking up the newspaper, or chatting up the ladies in the cafeteria. These are all great ways to find out more about the campus climate. We also strongly encourage students to take advantage of high school visits with college representatives when they come here to Derryfield each fall, either virtually or in person. And also take advantage of local area college fairs, particularly in the spring of junior year, to really get started on that deep research. And then one of the other things that we really like to help students do is connect with Derryfield alums who are currently enrolled at a college that they're thinking about. Because again, this is a great firsthand experience, and they can tell you what is great about their school and what's similar to Derryfield, and then also what may be different or what they could expect when they enroll. And then in addition, we have a variety of different resources available to families and students on MSA under the different college counseling groups for students and parents that are divided by class year.
Jill, I'm so glad you mentioned that piece about connecting with alums. I found with my own kids and some of my advisees that alums were so generous. They would sometimes just show up and meet a student when they were visiting the campus for the day to take them out to lunch, or they would host them for an overnight, or they would help them meet with teammates on a team that they were interested in. And even during COVID, alums often helped our kids connect with somebody on campus so that they could have that sense of connection when we were doing all of this virtually. They've just been a terrific network and resource. So when does the college experience begin at Derryfield?
So a student's journey to college begins the day that they join the Derryfield community, and it's supported throughout by excellent academic and co-curricular programs. Our mindful approach allows for students to explore. It allows for reflection, for intention and action throughout their time at Derryfield. So if a student arrives in the middle school, the college admissions experience begins with pathways, with lead courses, and the encouragement just to explore everything that's available to them.
You know, Becca, I know that we've mentioned pathways earlier and now again, and some families on this webinar may not be familiar with pathways. So could you share a little bit more about it?
Sure. Yeah, thanks. Sorry. So Pathways is a program or an opportunity for Derryfield faculty and staff, basically to guide students in thinking about things that they're good at and things that give them joy, and how that translates into an academic pathway at Derryfield and possibly even a career interest. It's really a conversation or an interview where we explore the possible ways students can make connections and try new things to encourage students to take advantage of all that Derryfield has to offer. All 8th graders have a pathway done, and any new upper school student will have theirs done in their first year at Derryfield. So that's a good launch pad, again, when students are new to the upper school, or to start using their pathway to explore all the options and continue, I guess, or start their college admissions experience. We want students at that point to be really investing in their community too. So freshman and sophomore year, the focus is on academics and co-curriculars and connecting with members of the Derryfield community and contributing to that community. There's also opportunities to connect with both Jill and I in those first few years. Sophomore and junior year, students do take the PSAT, and we talk about that with them and talk about how to use those results to move forward with some test prep and planning. Now in the junior year, that's when the process starts in earnest. So we begin with the juniors in large group settings right after the winter break. And that's also when a student is assigned a college counselor to work with. And our one-on-one meetings begin in the winter and the spring. That happens in the lead classes. And when a student becomes a senior, we continue working with them in lead classes throughout the fall to work on putting finishing touches on applications. We do essay review during that time. So a lot of time is really devoted to being there, in addition to our one-on-one meetings, to supporting students through the college admission experience. And then finally, we're still, even though we're working with our juniors right now, we're still working with our seniors to support them through making the final decision and assessing different financial aid packages and just helping to support them as they make their plans for post-graduation.
You know, Becca, one thing I'd love to add in that too, that I think really sets the Derryfield college admission journey apart from other schools, is that we have so much dedicated time during the class day that students are able to devote to college tasks and projects. So, you know, many times at other schools, students have to do all of this outside of school hours in the evening on the weekend. And certainly some of it is still going to happen then and visiting colleges. But the fact that students have dedicated time during the day at both junior and senior years to get some of this accomplished, I think is really a fabulous thing.
Absolutely. And in addition to the lead time is the time that they have during the academic day to connect with admissions representatives who come to Derryfield to meet our students. Traveling, especially during pandemic, is really, really hard. And so taking advantage of all the opportunities that we create during the day to connect with those admissions representatives is so valuable for our students.
Well, thank you too for giving us this great introduction to the philosophy and guidance the College Counseling Office provides. Let's shift to college decisions. Where are Derryfield graduates enrolling?
Derryfield continues to help our students make a good match. Year after year, students are regularly admitted to one of their top 3 choices. And our young alums report back on how well prepared they were for success in the college level. When we create a list of colleges for our students to apply to, we encourage them to aim really high, but to have balance in the creation of their college list. We want them to apply to schools in a really wide range. So that means applying to those schools that are a really big reach, where maybe less than 10% of the students who apply are admitted. We want them to apply to schools in the target range, where their GPA or their grades put them in the middle 50% of the students who are admitted. And we also want them to apply to those schools that are in the likely range. And that means that our students are sitting well above their peers who are applying there as well. So we want that full range of colleges to be on their list. The admissions landscape is changing. We are seeing an increased selectivity in schools, and admit rates have been dropping during the pandemic. But Derryfield still prepares students to put their best selves forward in the admission review, and our students are having amazing results. The class of 2021 received acceptances from 154 different institutions. So what that tells me is that our students are applying to a really wide range of schools that best suits their needs and goals. And this is a reflection of the personalized process that we offer.
Yeah, Becca, I'm constantly amazed at the great options our seniors are having year after year. And whether they're pursuing STEM programs or fine arts or theater or business or finance, or perhaps they're looking to explore a variety of programs before they find their academic niche. Our students are enrolled in schools across the United States and internationally. And as you mentioned earlier, are reporting back that they're really well prepared for their academic journey at the undergraduate level. We also have students who choose to take a gap year to travel or do service, or to more deeply explore a passion project, maybe something that was sparked by their independent senior project at the end of senior year. And to get a better sense for our audience of places where our students have been admitted or enrolled over the past 4 years, we are going to share after this session a copy of the Derryfield School Profile, which is a document that's shared with colleges as part of the admission packet for each student, but it also has a great list of places that have been good fits for our students.
Mm-hmm. And Jill, where will we be sharing the profile?
That's great. We're going to include it with a variety of resources via email to all attendees in the next couple of days after the session.
Oh, that's super. Thank you. Well, before we wrap up and move to questions, I know so many parents wonder during this really momentous process of college searching, what role should a parent play?
That's a loaded question, Lindley. It's a tough one as we prepare to send our children out into the world, but it's our hope that the adults in our students' lives move from being parents to partners in this process. We encourage students to start taking the lead and having autonomy in this experience. We want our children and our students to know that we believe in them so fully. And when we show that by kind of taking a step back and letting them take the lead in this experience. Parents might ask their student which college planning tasks they would like their help with, and then let the student do the rest. And trust that Jill and I, as their college counselors, will keep them on task and on track.
We definitely will keep them on track. I've been told that I am very good at reminding or nudging students. And I think this is a really important part of what sets our support apart, is that we want to partner with the family members to say, how can we best make sure your student is following this path and getting things done? And certainly some students will need a little bit more close attention than others, but sharing that information with us as their counselor is just very, very helpful. And then also sometimes we can be the nudge and the parents don't have to, which allows parents and family members to sort of sit back and enjoy this journey together with their student. And again, trust that we're going to make sure that materials are submitted on time and essays are done and lists are updated. And that's why your student is here with us at Derryfield, so that we can help make this journey happen.
That's great. And I'm just reflecting as you two are describing all of these remarkable moments in the process, how often over the years I've seen the college process really be such a time of affirmation for students, a time of both discovery, but also a time of affirmation as they reflect on their years of classes and experiences and go through that process about thinking what's important to them. And then also really thinking about what they're so excited to explore next. So thank you to both of you for helping them do that in such a productive and creative way. We do have a couple of questions that have come in.
Lily, before we go to questions, can I make a little plug for things that folks who are eager to think about summer, what they can be thinking about to do over the summer?
Yes.
Some of you are way ahead of me in thinking of summer already, although I am eager for it to be warm. If families are making plans for travel, actually over either of the breaks coming up or the summer months, it's a great time to visit colleges. And if you have younger students, do so informally. Feel free to stop on a college campus or near it and stretch your legs and walk around. You don't have to do an official tour if your students are younger, but it's a great way to start to introduce your students to the college process and to getting their feet onto different college campuses. Also, students, summertime is a great time to consider doing an internship or possibly job shadowing. And for folks who are really looking, for folks who have students in the junior class right now who will be rising seniors over the summer, I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be offering an essay writing class in June, at the end of June. And Chris Induni will also be offering an SAT/ACT prep class as well. Those dates should be available on the website tomorrow, but I did want to make sure that folks are looking ahead and thinking about warmer temps and ways to start this exciting experience.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
The first question is, my son has no idea what he's interested in studying in college, which is so normal. How will you help him figure out what area to major in?
Sure. That's such a great question, and it's so common. And it's also important to know that so many students do go to college undecided. And also many students go to college and then they end up, trading majors but what we hope is that our students have a good understanding of self during their college admissions experience and from their time at Derryfield. Some of the things that we do to help in this reflection process is we utilize the pathway that was created and we talked about earlier, reflecting on that and encouraging students to connect with some of the faculty that were suggested, to possibly try a job shadow that was suggested or an internship that was mentioned in the pathway. Try new things at Derryfield, join a new X block or perhaps a new club or a new activity that might be of interest. And of course, when they get to the junior year and we do that U Science assessment that Jill mentioned, that's another great way to explore with our students their interests and their values and how that can translate into a career. So there's lots of conversations.
That it sounds like it. It sounds like there's a little bit of feed in the background. So I'll see if I can figure what that is. Well, and I was just thinking too, I'm wondering, as our students move through courses in the program, one of the wonderful benefits of our new project-based learning approaches and our gold standard projects in our AT classes is that they invite students to think about the connection between the classroom work that they're doing and its real world application. And as they're doing teamwork and taking on different roles, they have a chance so often to think about how their proclivities towards a certain role in a group project, like doing the PR for the project or doing the pitch for the project or doing the data analysis for the project, connects to real world applications that might help direct them towards those majors that they might want to pursue later. Let's see. Another question is, you mentioned that college admittance has changed in the last few years. Can you talk about what you feel colleges are looking for beyond solid academic performance?
Jill, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, certainly the landscape is changing, but the piece that isn't is that colleges really want to see students that are not only successful in the classroom, but are all also, solid contributors to their community, whether that's their school, their home, their faith organization. What are they doing and how are they impacting the world around them, rather than just, the academic preparation? And as I've worked as a reader, it's not a matter of counting how many things someone has done, but it's understanding the depth of the experience that they're having and that they're passionate about things. So I think sometimes it's easy to say, oh, I should go do this, that, and the other thing so that I can list it on my college application. They're looking for quality, not quantity, and also taking on leadership roles. And it doesn't mean that you have to be the president of a club or the co-founder of something, but there are so many people who lead within a group. And I think Derryfield gives students a lot of opportunities to have leadership experiences without necessarily that title of leader. And one of the things we'll work on in the senior lead class as well is helping students tell their story authentically in their application, particularly in the activities list, which has very limited characters, but how can they make sure that they are showcasing the things that make them unique and a contributing member of their community?
We in conversations with our students, we remind them, or I guess inform them, that in college, there are actually during the week, there are less hours spent in the classroom than there are in high school. And sometimes our students are surprised to hear that. So it's a great opportunity for us to encourage them to further be involved in the community at Derryfield, to think about how they want to be involved in their community in college as well.
And probably one other thing that I just thought of, Becca, in terms of what our college is looking for, they are looking for interaction and engagement. Mm-hmm. So doing things like coming to the high school visit when the admission officer is here at Derryfield, or if you can't make it, connecting with us so that we can get you connected with that counselor, later on, going to a college fair, visiting the campus, attending a reception or an event. And it's just really important because colleges will say, oh, wow, yes, I remember that student. I met with them when I visited Derryfield, and they came to talk with me at the college fair over at Southern New Hampshire University. And then they came to campus in the fall. So it is important to start building those relationships as well.
It is. And if I could just add too, I'm thinking about as we head into course registration season this spring, and students are putting together their course schedule for the following year. When we talk about aim high and balance, one area that I always want students and families to think about as they're signing up for their courses is sometimes students think it's best to just really load up all of the most rigorous classes they can. But when they do that, sometimes they don't leave themselves enough time in their day and in their week to pursue those extracurriculars that are really in so many ways equally important. Mm-hmm. So just thinking about sort of how an extracurricular fits into your schedule and gives you that sense of joy and energy and belonging and passion pursuit is also so important. Another question has to do with the PSATs, to follow up on the good information that you provided about the test experience. The question is that the PSAT was mentioned in the last Zoom, mm-hmm. and is there an opportunity for sophomores to go over the feedback that they received, I think, from the College Board about the PSAT?
Right now, what we're working to do is develop a time this spring for Jill and I to begin meeting with groups of sophomores in a small group setting. So the PSAT for sophomores is really an opportunity for those students to get used to being in a large room and having to take a timed test. For the juniors, it's a little bit different. It's again a refresher for taking the PSAT, but it's also part of the National Merit Scholarship qualifying process. So for sophomores, we're really wanting them, again, just to get used to being in a room and taking in a test. But Jill and I, when we meet with the sophomores later this spring in those small group settings, we'll certainly touch on those PSAT score reports and how students can use that.
That's terrific. Thank you. And another question is, once a student has designed their pathway,
Mhm.
how do we help a student to use it effectively?
Absolutely. Having that discussion with your student at home about the pathway and working through that together is a great first step. I did that with my daughter this winter when she went through the pathway process. Also, discussing the pathway with your student's advisor at school is a great next step, particularly if they're still in their first year or two at Derryfield, or if they're still a freshman or sophomore. Discussing the pathway with the advisor and asking the advisor to be involved and to help make some of those connections. Certainly reaching out to Kate DiTullio, who is works in our library and is a great resource for opportunities and engagement for students. She helps make a lot of connections for students doing internships and job shadowing. And then, of course, we often reflect on it when we begin working with a student for their college admissions experience. So it's meant to be a working document, something that's revisited throughout the student's years at Derryfield. And I think that tapping into each of the different resources that I mentioned is a great way to utilize that.
That's terrific. And it's a sort of practice and a way of thinking that I find as my own students and advisees have gone on to college and into their early 20s. It's a way of understanding and mapping out potential opportunities that they've continued to utilize that skill and process. So it's just been a wonderful journey. Well, thank you two so much for all of this fantastic information. And this has just been really informative and really wonderful. And Jill, when will you be sending out that information to the families?
The goal will be to have the resource document hopefully ready to go out tomorrow, if not Monday.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And both of you have a great night.
Thanks,
Thank you
Lindsay.
so
You too.
much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.